What if I told you that there's a single command so powerful, so absolute, that you'd only need to speak it once to completely transform your relationship with money forever? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Most people spend their entire lives chanting affirmations, repeating mantras hundreds of times, writing down their desires on sticky notes, and desperately hoping that somehow, some way, the universe will finally hear their pleas for financial abundance. Has this ever happened to you? You've tried every manifestation technique, every visualization exercise, every gratitude practice, yet your bank account remains stubbornly unchanged, and those bills keep piling up just the same. Here's what they don't want you to know. Repetition isn't the key to manifestation. It's actually the enemy of it. Every time you repeat the same phrase over and over again, what you're really telling the universe is that you don't believe it worked the first time. You're broadcasting doubt disguised as faith, and the universe responds to that hidden frequency of desperation, not to the words you're desperately trying to convince yourself of. Florance Scovel. Shinn understood this profound truth when she declared that your word is law. Most people read that statement and think it's beautiful poetry, inspiring metaphor, or spiritual platitude. But what you're about to discover might surprise you. It wasn't poetry at all. It was a precise instruction, a cosmic principle, a warning about the incredible power that lies dormant in your voice right now. Think about it for a moment. When a king issues a royal decree, does he repeat it 50 times, hoping someone in the kingdom might eventually listen? When a judge delivers a verdict, does she whisper it timidly, wondering if the law will pay attention? Of course not. Authority speaks once, and reality rearranges itself accordingly. That's the difference between begging and commanding, between hoping and declaring, between manifesting from desperation and manifesting from absolute certainty. The tragedy is that you've already proven this principle works. You've just been using it against yourself. Every time you've muttered, "I can't afford this," didn't life immediately prove you right? Every time you've declared, "Money is so hard to come by," didn't circumstances align to make that your reality? You didn't need to repeat these limiting beliefs 1,000 times. You spoke them once with conviction, and the universe said yes to your command. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you will shatter everything you thought you knew about attracting wealth. There exists a specific command, a particular arrangement of words spoken with such authority that money has no choice but to obey. Florance Scovel Shinn hinted at this power throughout her teachings. But tonight, you're going to discover the exact words that carry that unstoppable force. But first, you need to understand why this single command succeeds where thousands of repeated affirmations fail, and why the moment you speak it with true authority, everything in your financial reality will begin to shift. Subscribe if you're ready to continue this journey of reclaiming your financial authority. This is where I share the deeper principles that actually create lasting change. The hidden truth behind why most people struggle financially isn't what you think. It's not about lack of opportunities, bad luck, or even the economy. The real problem lies in how they approach money itself. Think about the energy behind most people's financial desires. They beg, they plead, they desperately repeat the same affirmations like broken records, hoping that if they say, "I am wealthy enough" times, somehow the universe will take pity on them and grant their wishes. This begging mentality creates a vibration of lack that repels the very thing they're trying to attract. When you repeat something over and over again, you're essentially admitting that you don't believe it's true yet. Each repetition carries the energy of "please, please, please" rather than "this is so." And money, being energy itself, responds to the authentic frequency you're broadcasting, not the words you're desperately trying to convince yourself of. True authority operates on a completely different frequency. Authority doesn't negotiate. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't repeat itself hoping someone will finally listen. Authority speaks once, with such unwavering conviction that reality has no choice but to comply. This is the fundamental transformation that changes everything, shifting from the mindset of a beggar to the presence of someone who commands their own circumstances. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation, because when you finally encounter authentic authority, you'll recognize it immediately. It carries weight, not the weight of effort or strain, but the weight of absolute certainty. When you discover the real command that moves money, you'll feel it in your chest like a stone settling into place. It won't feel comfortable at first. It won't feel polite or gentle or safe. It will feel final, complete, unshakable. Most people run from this feeling because they've been conditioned to believe that anything powerful must be wrong, that true authority is somehow arrogant or inappropriate. But this reaction reveals exactly why they remain stuck in cycles of financial struggle. They're more comfortable with weakness than with their own power. They'd rather repeat pretty affirmations that make them feel good than speak one command that actually changes their reality. Money doesn't respond to politeness. It doesn't bend for gentle requests or hopeful wishes. Money is pure energy, and energy follows the path of least resistance toward the strongest, magnetic force. When you speak with genuine authority, you become that magnetic force. When you command rather than beg, you create an energetic pull that money cannot resist. The moment you step into this authentic power, everything shifts. Your posture changes. Your voice carries different weight. People sense something different about you before you even speak. This isn't about becoming aggressive or demanding with others. It's about claiming your rightful authority over your own financial reality. It's about recognizing that you were never meant to beg for abundance. You were designed to command it. But here's what makes this so profound. The command itself will challenge every comfortable belief you have about money, success, and your own worthiness. It will demand that you abandon the familiar territory of hoping and wishing and step into the unknown realm of absolute certainty. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for true authority," if this resonates with the transformation you're seeking in your relationship with money. This brings us to one of the most counterintuitive revelations about manifestation that completely contradicts everything you've been taught. The spiritual community has convinced millions of people that repetition is the key to success. They say you need to repeat your affirmations every morning, write your desires multiple times, chant your mantras hundreds of times daily. But this entire approach is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of how the universe actually operates. Every single time you repeat the same phrase, you're unconsciously broadcasting a message that says it didn't work the first time. Think about your own behavior patterns. When you tell someone something once and they don't respond, what do? You repeat it, right? That repetition carries the energy of doubt, the vibration of, maybe they didn't hear me, or maybe it wasn't clear enough. This is exactly what happens when you repeat affirmations endlessly. You're training your subconscious mind to believe that your words lack power. The universe doesn't operate like a hard-of-hearing grandfather who needs you to shout the same thing multiple times before he understands. The universe is incredibly sensitive to energy, and it responds instantly to authentic vibrations. But here's the revelation that changes everything. The universe doesn't actually hear your words at all. It hears the vibration beneath your words, the energy signature that you're broadcasting while you speak. You could say, "I am wealthy" 1,000 times, but if the energy underneath those words is desperate, needy, or uncertain, that's what the universe receives and responds to. It's like trying to place an order at a restaurant while frantically waving your hands and looking panicked. The waiter doesn't focus on your words. They respond to your frantic energy and assume there's some kind of emergency. This hidden truth explains why so many people have practiced manifestation techniques for years without seeing real results. They're focused entirely on getting the words right, the visualization perfect, the timing precise, but they're completely ignoring the energetic frequency they're broadcasting. Their words might say abundance, but their vibration screams lack. Their affirmations declare confidence, but their energy radiates desperation. The most successful people in the world, whether they realize it or not, speak from a place of absolute certainty. When they make decisions about money, investments, or opportunities, they don't second-guess themselves endlessly. They don't repeat their choices, hoping they'll become more real. They decide once, with conviction, and then they act as if that decision is already manifested reality. Now, I want to reveal something even more profound about this energetic communication system, because once you understand how to align your words with authentic power, you'll discover why Florance. Scovel Shinn's teachings about the authority of your word are so incredibly precise. There's a specific way to speak that bypasses all doubt, cuts through resistance, and commands immediate response from the universe. Write in the comments, "I understand the vibration," if you're beginning to see how your energy has been working against your words. This distinction between authentic authority and desperate repetition becomes crystal clear when you observe how real power operates in the world. Picture a king sitting on his throne, surrounded by his court. When he issues a royal decree, does he repeat it 50 times hoping someone in the kingdom might eventually hear him? Does he nervously stutter through his commands, wondering if his words carry any weight? Absolutely not. He speaks once with complete certainty, and the entire kingdom shifts to accommodate his will. That single moment of declaration creates ripples that transform everything within his realm. This isn't about ego or arrogance. It's about understanding the fundamental mechanics of authority. A king's power doesn't come from the volume of his voice or the frequency of his repetition. It comes from the absolute certainty that his word creates reality within his domain. He has no doubt about his authority, so neither does anyone else. His conviction is so complete that questioning his decree simply doesn't occur to those who hear it. The same principle operates in military command structures. When a general stands before his troops and issues an order, he doesn't plead with them to consider following his instructions. He doesn't repeat the command timidly, hoping they might decide to listen. He speaks once, with unwavering authority, and entire armies move in response. His voice carries the weight of absolute certainty, and that certainty becomes contagious, spreading through the ranks until thousands of people act as one unified force. If this resonates with you, subscribe to stay connected. I regularly explore the hidden mechanics of wealth and conscious creation for people serious about transformation. Here's the revelation that will transform your entire approach to money. Your voice carries exactly the same potential for authority. You possess the same innate power to speak reality into existence. The difference isn't in your capacity for command. It's in your recognition and utilization of that capacity. Most people have spent so many years speaking from weakness that they've forgotten what their voice sounds like when it carries true authority. Think about the moments in your life when you've spoken with absolute certainty. Maybe it was defending someone you love, making a crucial decision under pressure, or standing up for something you believed in completely. In those moments, your voice changed. Your words carried different weight. People responded differently to you. That wasn't an accident or a special circumstance. That was you accessing your natural authority, the same power that kings and generals use to move entire kingdoms and armies. The tragedy is that most people reserve this powerful voice for crisis situations or moments of extreme emotion, never realizing they could use it to transform their financial reality. They speak to money from the same weak position they use for everything else, then wonder why wealth doesn't respond to their timid requests. Now, I want to explore the deeper implications of what happens when you finally reclaim this authoritative voice and direct it toward your financial circumstances, because the impact extends far beyond just attracting money. Write in the comments, "I recognize my authority," if you're ready to stop speaking from weakness and start commanding your reality. When you finally direct this authoritative voice toward money, something profound happens that Florance Scovel Shinn understood better than most. She spoke about assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, but most people misinterpret this as some kind of visualization exercise or emotional manipulation technique. What she was actually describing is a complete energetic transformation. You don't just imagine having money. You don't pretend to feel wealthy. You occupy that state with such absolute conviction that reality has no choice but to harden around your assumption. This isn't about faking it until you make it. This is about recognizing a truth that already exists, and speaking from that place of knowing. When you assume the feeling of financial abundance with complete certainty, you're not trying to convince the universe of anything. You're simply acknowledging what is already yours and commanding reality to align with that truth. It's a single moment of recognition followed by one declaration that shifts everything. Think about lightning for a moment. Lightning doesn't flash tentatively across the sky 10 times, hoping that one of those attempts might finally strike the ground. Lightning gathers its power silently, building energy until it reaches a critical point, and then it releases everything in one magnificent strike that splits the entire sky open. The thunder that follows isn't a request for attention. It's an announcement that power has been unleashed and the atmosphere itself has been transformed. This is exactly how your financial command should feel, not like a timid whisper repeated endlessly, hoping someone might eventually notice. Not like a desperate plea thrown into the void. Your command should feel like that single lightning strike, a concentrated release of absolute certainty that cannot be ignored, questioned, or resisted. When you speak with this kind of focused authority, reality doesn't have time to debate or negotiate. It simply responds. Most people scatter their energy across dozens of weak attempts, like trying to start a fire by striking a wet match over and over again. But true manifestation works like a laser beam, all your power concentrated into one precise moment of declaration. The difference in impact is extraordinary. A scattered approach creates scattered results. A focused command creates focused transformation. The beautiful truth behind this principle is that you don't need to build up to this kind of authority gradually. You don't need years of practice or perfect conditions. Lightning doesn't warm up with smaller flashes. It strikes with full force the moment conditions are right. Your voice carries this same potential for immediate, complete authority when you finally decide to use it. Now, I want to reveal the deeper mechanics of why this single-strike approach works so effectively, because understanding the science behind the phenomenon will give you the confidence to speak with genuine authority rather than hoping your words might work. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to strike like lightning," if you feel this shift in understanding about focused power versus scattered effort. The deeper mechanics reveal something that completely dismantles one of the most damaging beliefs in the spiritual community. So many people think the universe is testing them, making them prove their worthiness through endless repetition and perfect consistency. They believe they need to repeat their desires hundreds of times to somehow earn the right to receive what they want. But this entire framework is backwards. The universe isn't sitting there with a cosmic clipboard, keeping track of how many times you've said your affirmations before deciding whether you deserve abundance. The universe is actually waiting for something completely different. It's waiting for you to speak once with such complete certainty that all doubt dies instantly in that moment. It's waiting for that lightning strike of absolute conviction that leaves no room for negotiation or question. When you finally speak from that place of unwavering authority, the universe doesn't need to hear it again. It heard you perfectly the first time, and it immediately begins orchestrating circumstances to match your declaration. Here's the evidence that proves you already possess this power, and you've been using it your entire life without realizing it. Think back to moments when you've made negative declarations about money, when you've looked at something you wanted and muttered, "I can't afford this." What happened? Did you need to repeat that statement 50 times before reality proved you right? When you've declared that money is so hard to come by, did you have to chant it every morning for months before circumstances aligned to make it true? Of course not. You spoke those limiting beliefs once with complete conviction, and reality immediately began reflecting them back to you. Your bank account proved you right. Opportunities dried up. Expenses increased. The universe heard your command perfectly and obeyed it instantly. This proves that your words already carry tremendous power. The problem isn't that you lack authority. The problem is that you've been unconsciously using that authority against yourself. This revelation changes everything because it means you don't need to develop some new ability or spend years training your mind. You already know how to speak with command. You've already proven that your words create reality. You just need to consciously direct that same power toward abundance instead of lack. The mechanism is identical. The authority is identical. Only the content of your declaration changes. Most people have accidentally trained themselves to speak their limitations with absolute conviction while speaking their desires with doubt and hesitation. They'll say, "I'm broke," with complete certainty, but whisper, "I am wealthy," like they're afraid someone might hear them lying. This backwards approach explains why their negative expectations manifest so quickly while their positive ones seem to take forever. Now, I want to expose the tragic irony of how most people have been living their entire financial lives, because once you see this pattern clearly, you'll never be able to unconsciously sabotage yourself again. Write in the comments, "I see my power now," if you're recognizing how you've been unconsciously commanding your current reality. This tragic irony reveals the most heartbreaking pattern in human behavior around money. Most people have become masters at commanding their own limitations. They speak their fears with such passionate conviction that reality has no choice but to obey these negative decrees. When they declare, "I'll never get ahead," they don't whisper it hesitantly. They say it with the full weight of their frustration and disappointment. When they announce, "This always happens to me," referring to financial setbacks, they speak from a place of absolute certainty based on their past experiences. The universe hears these declarations and responds accordingly. Reality begins arranging circumstances to prove them. Right, over and over again. Every financial disappointment becomes evidence supporting their negative commands. Every unexpected expense confirms their decree that money always goes out faster than it comes in. They've essentially become the kings and queens of their own financial dungeons, issuing royal commands that keep them trapped in cycles of lack. Meanwhile, when these same people attempt to declare abundance or success, their voices become tentative, uncertain, almost apologetic. They whisper their desires as if they're afraid someone might overhear them being presumptuous. They speak their positive affirmations with the energy of someone asking for permission, rather than someone issuing a command. This creates a devastating contrast where their limitations are spoken with authority, while their possibilities are spoken with doubt. But here's where everything shifts, and this might be the most liberating truth you'll hear today. Authority has absolutely nothing to do with volume, aggression, or dramatic presentation. You don't need to shout your commands to the universe. You don't need to pound your fist or raise your voice or make grand declarations in front of other people. True authority operates in the realm of quiet certainty, unshakable conviction that needs no external validation. Think about the most powerful people you've encountered in your life, the ones who commanded genuine respect and moved mountains with their decisions. Were they the loudest people in the room? Probably not. They were the ones who spoke with such complete certainty that questioning them simply didn't occur to anyone. Their power came from the absolute conviction behind their words, not from the volume or drama of their delivery. This means you can transform your entire financial reality through whispered commands spoken in the privacy of your own space. As long as those whispers carry the weight of absolute truth, you can issue decrees that move mountains while sitting quietly in your car, walking alone in nature, or lying in bed before sleep. The universe doesn't need you to perform authority. It needs you to embody it. Now, I want to reveal the specific mechanics of how this quiet certainty actually operates, because understanding the energetic frequency of true authority will give you the confidence to speak your financial commands with unwavering conviction. Write in the comments, "I choose quiet certainty," if you're ready to stop shouting your desperation and start whispering your authority. The energetic frequency of true authority operates on a completely different wavelength than most people realize. The universe doesn't hear the sound waves coming from your vocal cords or analyze the tone of your voice like some kind of cosmic audio engineer. What it responds to is the authentic truth and unwavering conviction that lives behind your words. This means a whispered command, spoken with absolute certainty, carries infinitely more power than a shouted affirmation laced with doubt. Think about how truth feels in your body when you speak it versus how lies or uncertainty feel. When you tell someone your real name, your actual age, or share a fact you know without question, there's a different energy in your voice. There's no hesitation, no second guessing, no internal debate. You're simply stating what is. And that certainty creates a particular vibration that everyone can sense. This is the frequency the universe recognizes as law. When you declare something about your financial reality with this same quality of absolute knowing, you're not making a request or expressing a hope. You're announcing a fact that already exists in the realm of truth, and reality begins restructuring itself to match that announcement. One decree spoken with this kind of authentic authority contains more transformative power than 10,000 repetitions spoken with uncertainty. This brings us to a fundamental shift in understanding that separates those who successfully command money from those who spend their lives begging for it. Most people approach manifestation as if they're reciting affirmations, repeating positive statements, hoping that somehow the universe will eventually be convinced. But what we're talking about here isn't affirmation at all. This is about speaking law, and law operates under completely different principles. Think about how actual laws function in the physical world. When a legislature passes a new law, they don't repeat the vote every day hoping it will eventually take effect. They declare it once with proper authority, and from that moment forward, reality within that jurisdiction must align with that decree. The law doesn't ask twice. It doesn't negotiate or plead for compliance. It simply exists, and everything else adjusts accordingly. This is exactly how your words are meant to function when you speak from genuine authority about your financial circumstances. You're not trying to convince the universe of anything. You're not repeating yourself, hoping it will eventually stick. You're declaring what is already true at the deepest level of reality, and the physical world has no choice but to catch up with that declaration. The transformation happens the moment you recognize that you're not petitioning for abundance. You're announcing it. You're not requesting financial freedom. You're proclaiming it. This shift from asking to declaring, from hoping to knowing, from affirmation to law, changes everything about how your words impact reality. Now I want to share the profound implications of what happens when you finally step into this identity of someone who speaks law rather than someone who repeats wishes, because this journey transforms not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with your own power. Write in the comments, "I speak law now," if you feel this shift from asking to declaring resonating in your understanding. When you step into this identity of someone who speaks law rather than repeats wishes, you begin to understand something that completely reframes your entire relationship with money. Money isn't deaf to your requests. It isn't ignoring your pleas or deliberately withholding itself from you out of spite or judgment. Money is actually in a state of patient waiting, like a loyal servant standing by for clear instructions from someone who knows how to give them. Think about this. From money's perspective, if you will. It's been listening to millions of people every day. And what does it hear? The same desperate, uncertain voices making the same weak requests over and over again. Please come to me. I hope I can afford this. Maybe someday I'll have enough. These voices all blend together into a chorus of uncertainty, and uncertainty doesn't command respect or response from anything, including money. But then imagine money encounters a voice that sounds completely different. A voice that doesn't beg or plead or repeat itself nervously. A voice that speaks with the quiet certainty of someone who knows exactly what they're talking about. That voice cuts through all the noise immediately. Money recognizes authority when it hears it, and it responds accordingly because it's finally receiving clear, decisive direction from someone who sounds like they know how to be in charge. Your journey toward financial transformation isn't about developing some new, mystical ability you don't currently possess. The proof that you already have this power is written all over your current circumstances. When you've declared negative things about money with absolute conviction, reality proved you right every single time. You didn't need to repeat, "I'll never get out of this debt" 100 times before circumstances aligned to make it true. You said it once, with the full weight of your frustration and certainty, and life began arranging itself to confirm that declaration. When you've muttered, "I can't afford this," while looking at something you wanted, you didn't spend weeks chanting that limitation before it became real. You spoke it once with complete belief, and your bank account immediately reflected that truth. This proves beyond any doubt that your words already carry tremendous creative power. The mechanism is already functioning perfectly. The authority is already yours. You've just been unconsciously directing it toward limitation instead of abundance. The beautiful irony is that changing your financial reality requires exactly the same process you've been using to maintain your current limitations. Same authority, same conviction, same single-moment declaration. The only difference is the content of what you're declaring and